Major League Baseball? Wow, what a riddle. Get on the ball. Live with you on a Tuesday. It's Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. We're here on SportsGrid. Big time NBA action. The play-in begins. The chance to be the 7th seed and go up against the defending NBA champion. Denver Nuggets is there for the Pels or the Lakers. Survival tonight on the line for Golden State and Sacramento. We will also hit some of the big games on the ice tonight as the NHL's regular season is nearing its close. And we, of course, have some Major League Baseball to get through. It is Dinger Tuesday, of course. We begin, though, with some breaking news around the series between Milwaukee and Indiana. The Pacers are now a Game 1 favorite against the Milwaukee Bucks. The series price could flip soon enough because Antetokounmpo, Giannis, is very likely to miss game number 1 of this series. Don't be surprised if it's game number 2. At that point, things are going to change so drastically within this series. I don't know if it matters if Giannis gets back there for game 3. The incredible thing is, I think many people would have been willing to bet on the Pacers if Giannis was 100% healthy. The Pacers dominated that matchup in the regular season, and the Bucks have been disastrous under Doc Rivers. Now you remove Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now we enter this series, and the best player is probably on Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton over Damian Lillard. This is a massive shift here, and it's going to continue to move the markets, and it's going to continue to move the Eastern Conference outright markets, where the second favorite Milwaukee Bucks continue to drop. We'll bring our radio audience in here, Sirius XM channel 159. Kevin Walsh with you on Game Time Decisions across the SportsGrid network live on this Tuesday. That is the Milwaukee news. We'll get the Eastern Conference play-in tomorrow. Other Eastern Conference news, the Brooklyn Nets announcing Jordi Fernandez as their new head coach. For Brooklyn, look, this is not an earth-shattering hire. Some people will say, okay, this is getting back to their real identity of when Kenny Atkinson was in charge, and this wasn't a team dictated by stars. Miss me with that. This is a Brooklyn Nets team that made a massive mistake when they did not extend Kyrie Irving. If that mistake was not made, they would have Kyrie and Durant and would be the second favorite to win the Eastern Conference. Instead, they were awful this season. Mikal Bridges probably wants out, and they have to reset everything as is. It's not a knock on Jordi Fernandez, but the Brooklyn Nets are going to have to make major changes elsewhere on this roster if we're really going to be talking about them as Eastern Conference relevant next season. Let's go to the NBA bracket before we take a look at tonight's games and just where everything sits. Again, what's set? 4-5s, Cleveland, Orlando, Clippers, Mavs. We've talked about this. It remains true. Dallas, the favorite to win the series over the Clippers. How much of that is the Kawhi uncertainty? You have to imagine a decent portion because Kawhi missed the last 8 regular season games. Even if Kawhi is good to go for game 1, he was good to go last year in game number 1. Do you think Kawhi is going to be good to go for game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? It's supposed to be a long series with the Mavericks. That's the difficult bit there for LA. We've got Minnesota and Phoenix, and again, as we mentioned, Indiana and Milwaukee. What's on the line tonight, though? Kings Warriors, your winner will get the chance to play the loser on the road of Pelicans Lakers. The winner here of this game will start with Denver on Saturday. We'll talk motivation a little bit, and we can get right over to that Lakers Pelicans line and handle this right away. Okay? The notion that is out there that the Lakers should lose this game on purpose is one of the worst takes in the history of sports analysis. Truly is. It is unbelievably bad. It would be one thing If the Lakers lost this game, auto-locked them into the 8 and the Thunder were missing SGA, then we could have some type of conversation around it. If the Lakers lost this game, they'd have to win a game against either the Kings, who own them, or Steph Curry, who just lit their faces on fire a week ago in LA and won that game outright. And even if they get through that, they then still have to play a top-seeded OKC. I get they match up well, but that's not some cakewalk. The Lakers wouldn't be favored in that series all of a sudden. And oh, by the way, instead of getting LeBron and AD Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off, they have to go back out there on Thursday, play again, and lose any type of additional rest that they could get themselves. It is an atrocious take, and one that I imagine the Lakers are not even taking with an ounce of sincerity. But hey, I guess why not? A fascinating spot here overall because, of course, these teams just played Sunday in New Orleans, and it mattered for both. A Lakers win was going to keep them as the 8th seed. And that, of course, was massive. The Lakers dropping into the 9-10 would have majorly shifted their odds as it pertained to actually playing playoff basketball. But for New Orleans, it was important as well. A win would have put them as the 6th seed. An opening round matchup with Minnesota, which they would have gladly taken. Instead, New Orleans now is either going to open with Denver or lose this game and be on the brink of elimination. That Pelicans loss on Sunday could be the domino that knocks them all the way out of the playoffs. A massive game on Sunday, but a really big one now here again on Tuesday. The night game is do or die. It's Golden State at Sacramento. Some interesting things here with this now 3-point spread. 4 games this season between the Kings and the Warriors. 3 of the 4 decided by 1 point exactly. Maybe you just take the 3 points and get out of there, especially on the road. Golden State, though, has been very good as a road favorite. This season, we will see if they can continue to make do. Of course, last year's 3-6 matchup in the Western Conference went 7. It was an excellent series, which was capped off by Steph going nuts in that Game 7. Some of the key NHL matchups tonight before we get to Major League Baseball and the quick pick. Boston looking to lock down Ottawa. We've got Montreal and Detroit. Once again here, Caps Flyers, and we'll break down a little bit of that game between Winnipeg and Seattle. Major League Baseball-wise, don't forget it is Dinger Tuesday. We have had 2 Dinger Tuesdays so far. This is the 3rd. We have hit 1 of the 2 Dinger Tuesdays. We've hit 1 each week, is the best way to say it. We've taken 2 each time, 1 each week, looking to do that once again. I've got eyes on this Houston-Atlanta game in a couple of directions. We'll talk about that when we get there. Let's put the quick pick up on the board, though. We're going to talk to Brian Fonseca in just a couple of minutes here, get some of his thoughts for tonight's game and look ahead a little bit to Wednesday. But for me, let's get Brandon Ingram over the 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is worth a shot here. B.I. came back for his first game in some time on Sunday, did not get through this number, played a limited amount of minutes. But we are now in an actual playoff game. B.I. sees a minute upstick, and he can go off against his former team. We'll continue to break down the NBA play-in next. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There is there's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals, saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live on SportsGrid. Here it's Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined now by Brian Fonseca as we get set for the NBA play-in. And I've told myself we will talk about tomorrow's games. I have to save the Heat-Sixers game for last because we will then, as usual, when Brian and I get together, only talk about the Heat eliminating either the Celtics or the Knicks in the opening round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Brian, it's good to talk to you. Let me start with this Lakers-Pelicans game. It's, almost a pick 'em line. It shades slightly towards New Orleans. Do you have a strong enough lean to play a side in this game, or is there a different way you want to attack it?
It's Lakers or nothing because I can't in good conscience bet the Pelicans when I've seen the Lakers house them and punk them time and time again. So it's just I just can't get there with the Pelicans. I like the Pelicans team very much. I think that they have the capability of putting it all together and beating these other teams, or some of them anyway. But I think for the most part, you're looking at a team who they just play bad in big spots. And this has become a thing with them and a real theme. It's like whenever the microscope is under them and you think they're finally going to break through, they haven't yet. So I'm not going to start betting on them now. And I'm skeptical that they win against the winner of 9 and 10 after this.
Yeah, I think the New Orleans free fall is there. Simultaneously, the roster is it's filled with so many perfect modern basketball players. Like, you could convince me they'd give Denver a challenge of it all. I think it's one of these spots where the spot singularly for New Orleans, like if you remove the players, right? These are kind of even basketball teams. They just played Sunday here in New Orleans. It is difficult to play consecutive games in a team's building that you're on equal footing with and beat them both times. The problem is it's the Pelicans trying to beat the Lakers. And I really believe LeBron and AD take playing New Orleans as personal as any team on the schedule because of the trade. That probably sounds crazy to some. LeBron and AD together are 10-3 against New Orleans. They whoop this team. They really do, Brian. And I'm not playing a side here Because it really feels like if the Lakers lose, it's only because AD is reminding everyone he can only play good every other game and played too well on Sunday.
Also, Willie Green, if you're going to play the small ball lineup, speaking of Anthony Davis, I played him over 12.5 rebounds earlier because Willie Green just hates Jonas Valanciunas. I don't think he actually does, but he doesn't like playing Jonas Valanciunas. It's been a thing since Larry Nance came back in like late December. I'll look at my alerts because I had Jonas Valanciunas on one of my fantasy teams. It still won a championship despite the fact that he would be benched to start a lot of second halves. It'd be like Larry Nance Jr. starting ahead of Jonas Valanciunas in the second half today. Oh, it happened again on Friday. It happened again Monday. It happened again on this day, and it's just a thing. And there's been a couple games recently where he's played a single-digit amount of minutes, so much so that his prop dropped to like 5.5 points over under. I'm looking at it live right now. Plus 105 to go over 5.5 points for Jonas Valanciunas, who really can get that in his sleep. So if they're going to do the small ball thing again, Anthony Davis, I think, have a big rebounding night. And he's been over 12.5 in like either 8 of his last 10 or 9 of his last 11. But he's been tearing that clip up.
Yeah, the rebounding from AD this year has been incredibly impressive. Golden State's up to a 3-point road favorite now against Sacramento. Look, part of this is Kings disrespect. Warriors are the Warriors. Another part of it is the Kings have just continuously had their back-end key pieces picked off, right? It's not Fox, it's not Sabonis, but Monk and Herter are 2 top 7 rotation pieces for them, and it's a part of why this team's fallen all the way down to the 9 seed. But, 3 is a lot, considering 3 of the 4 games were decided by exactly 1 point.
Yeah, I took Warriors minus 2.5 this morning. Some other people got it at -2. I feel weird picking 2 road teams to win these games tonight. Also, I feel like if something's going to go wrong, can't really project which. And I don't really trust Golden State like wholeheartedly, but I don't trust Sacramento. And given everything I've seen from Golden State in a big spot, it just feels stupid to pick the Sacramento Kings to beat them, even in a 1-game sample in Sacramento. Like if I'm going to go down swinging, I'd rather go down swinging with somebody who's proven to me that they can do this. And for me, Sacramento is not that team yet. So even in a 1-game sample, March Madness style sort of affair, Golden State or nothing for me, and I already took them. So it's Golden State and the Lakers. I did not parlay those 2, but it's Golden State and the Lakers. Actually, I might parlay that and see what number that'll come out.
It's one of those things. I feel like the value part of my brain says take the home teams. And the I've watched this sport long enough says Golden State and the Lakers. It's going to be really, really interesting to play out. All right, let's do the Heat Sixers thing. Philly's a 5-point favorite. Philly is, here's the thing. With Embiid, they were arguably the best team in basketball. But it's now a playoff game, so Miami turns into the scariest team in the world. I don't know what I'm doing with the side necessarily yet. I also don't know if it really should matter because either one of these teams will be a considerable favorite against the winner of Bulls-Hawks. Do you have a strong take on this Miami-Philly game?
I'm scared. I'm scared to take a side. I'm scared to take a side in this one, boy. Because here's the thing, and I noted this yesterday. I'm going to read a couple of things that really stood out to me as I was doing some research for this game. The Sixers first. The Sixers are 31-8 with Joel Embiid. So we can start there. 31-8 with Joel Embiid when he plays. Yeah. All right, so that's already a damn good record. That's one of the best. Like they would have been. That's like a Celtics pace from this season, basically.
Yeah.
21-11 against the spread at home. That's 5th best in the NBA, 2nd in the Eastern Conference this season. 23-9 win-loss as a home favorite. So as a home favorite, just straight up WLs. They got 23 Ws and only 9 Ls. That's 11th in the NBA, 5th in the East. So not amazing, but that's still really good. The Heat, though, as unsteady as their season has been, and, the Knicks are getting a lot of credit for winning 50 games. They have 4 more wins than the Heat do, which is interesting because, the Heat weren't, great this year by any means. And the Knicks were able to do this despite the fact that the Knicks had a lot of injury concerns, as did the Heat. So then you look at, and pardon the chaos in the hallway right here, as you can hear. people are just getting it on. It's New York City. You know what it is. So the Heat 16-9 against the spread as a road underdog, second in the NBA, first in the Eastern Conference this year, and also 24-15-2 as a road team against the spread. That's third in the NBA, first in the Eastern Conference. So very good road team this year. Also 24-17 straight up on the road, second best record in the Eastern Conference. I don't know what to do with this game, Kevin. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think, I was talking with someone who knows the Celtics well, and Philly might be better than Miami, but they would rather play Philly because they seem to have Embiid's number. Miami is their rival. And that's the takeaway for me on this game is this game matters more for Boston than it does for either one of these teams. If that makes sense, it matters more for the big picture of the Eastern Conference. Because in a way, like if the Knicks Miami last year, right? You kind of got like the worst version of Jimmy while he was in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and they still got through the Knicks. The Knicks are injured. Brunson's playing better. But I could see them both losing their opening round matchups, where conversely, if Philly gets the Knicks, there's no answer for Embiid. And again, Miami-Boston it's a cliche, but it's a real throw the records out thing. It's just what it is. Boston knows it well. Milwaukee knows it a bit better. It is a shame you and I don't get to sit here and laugh a little bit longer about the Doc Rivers Milwaukee Bucks, but I am sure we will find time again throughout the playoffs. That's Brian Fonseca. Brian, appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome stuff as always. We'll talk to Tom Vecchio next. It's Game Time Decisions.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
In the mix, Dinger Tuesday. Kevin Walsh, Tom Vecchio. Tom, great to have you. Now, we didn't talk last Tuesday, and I want to put this on the record. Entirely my fault. Entirely my fault. But I will have you know, I've had 2 home run picks on each of the 2 Dinger Tuesdays and have gone 1-1 so far. Now, my process is not a science like Tom's. A little more vibesy, if I'm honest. But it's got us to the window nonetheless. Tom, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Yeah, sometimes, process can only take you so far. We got to factor in, sometimes a revenge game against a former team. Bobblehead night is always a good narrative I want to buy into. Sometimes we got to add the vibes to it. I'm absolutely with that. Birthday narrative, someone just had a baby. All those things are very good to add into the mix.
Baby narratives are real. It won the Raptors an NBA championship, arguably, with how good FVV played. Perhaps Scottie Scheffler does win the RBC. No, baby didn't come out yet. All right, never mind. Let's get to the picks, Tom. You've got a home run pick. I know you have a few you're looking at here, but one today from the Philadelphia Phillies you're specifically lining up.
Yeah, that starts with Alec Baum for a home run at plus 540. And, whenever I talk about a home run prop, if you're not willing to go that far, you can simply take an RBI prop. Tonight it's at plus 130 for him, or 2+ total bases. It's at plus 100. So there's multiple ways to go about it. Like, ultimately, it's the same thing. Pitcher's bad. Baum's a good hitter in this split. He's going up against Austin Gomber last year versus righties. Led a 476 slugging, a 501 xFIP, 1.54 home runs per 9, a 38% fly ball rate, and a 39% hard contact rate. That is like spot on. Exactly what I want to see. And then for Baum versus lefties last year, 142 WRC plus, 384 WOBA. He had a 290 ISO, which is something I didn't expect to be that high, a 41% fly ball rate, and a 39% hard contact rate. Like, we are hitting on exactly what we want to see. So if you don't want to go all the way to a home run at plus 540, which I put like a quarter unit on, go to an RBI prop. It's plus 130 or 2+ total bases.
Yeah, and that is the thing with the home runs. You can obviously, it's funny, I just mentioned Scottie Scheffler. If you bet someone to win a golf tournament outright, top 10, top 20, whatever it may be, a home run is always, it's 2 bases, it's a run scored, it's an RBI, it's however you want to play. Can you do me, though, a favor and remind people what that, the 40-40 club, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
On what you look for when it comes to these Dinger Tuesday or home run. You do home run props every day of the week, actually.
Yeah, correct. Every day. And it's just a pitcher that, it's like, I think of it like a Venn diagram. We want this like overlap of a pitcher that allows a 40% hard contact rate and a 40% fly ball rate, and a hitter that generates that in that split. And we come to like this apex of power where it's like, of course, hitters and pitchers below that are going to give up home runs. Like, even pitchers that are predominantly ground ball pitchers still give up home runs. But like, we want to find the path of least resistance. So it's like this band of range or so of fly ball rate and hard contact rate. That's where the hitters and pitchers are most likely to intersect.
Yeah. All right. What about Braves Astros? There's another pick for you in that game, but you're going to a pitcher prop. What are you looking for here?
Yeah, that's for the Braves pitcher, Ronaldo Lopez, under 4.5 strikeouts. Like, he's a really average pitcher. Like, a 24% strikeout rate is super average. 11% walk rate is bad. A 4.23 Sierra, and the Astros, as usual, super disciplined at the plate versus righties. A 17% strikeout rate, which is the lowest in the league. They also come in with a 127 WRC plus, which is the 3rd best in the league. So they have a good offense. They kind of started the season slow, but they are turning things up. They don't waste chances at the plate, and they have a ton of power, which can knock them out of the game early.
We did, by the way, just get the Team USA 12th man, which is Kawhi.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just announce that yesterday? Why in the world would they have delayed that?
I assume that they're talking to Kawhi, talking to his people, seeing, commitment level, getting, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. It's got to be something about his representation. I don't know. It should be Jalen Brunson, but that's a different story.
Over Kawhi specifically, or Jalen should have one of the 12 spots?
Jalen should have one of the 12 spots, and they don't need another wing out there.
I think if they want a wing, right? Well, here's the interesting thing. The Team USA basketball stuff is very interesting to me. Kawhi can start if they so choose, where Brunson is obviously not going to start on this team. So if they view Kawhi in that level, you put Kawhi on the roster. If you want to take
But he doesn't
Brunson,
start. He shouldn't be starting. Embiid, Durant, Tatum, LeBron. Who does he start over?
Steph. Tatum is the answer. Now, he's the guy. That's the debate, though, to be clear.
Okay.
LeBron, Durant, Steph, and Embiid are not debatable. I think the thing, Tom, is basically what's happening with this Team USA is it's one last ride for the core guys that have run the league for a long time, right? And Kawhi kind of fits into that group, right? Even if he seems more on the outside because he friendships, whatever kind of thing. But also, to your point, Tatum is favored to be coming off of a Finals MVP. To bring that guy off the bench might seem ridiculously. But also, Kawhi might not even play in the playoffs, so I don't know why we're really all that worried about whether or not he'll even be able to play for Team USA. So that's a whole other thing. And then maybe they can take Brunson and the Knicks can hang that banner if they want. All right. Well, what? I got to be honest with you, Tom.
We have other stuff to get to tonight. We don't, it's not an Olympic discussion.
The Brunson stuff is not for me. I don't know. Knicks fans and happiness has never been a good blend for me, if I'm just being totally honest.
It's fair.
It's just not. Do you think he should be MVP?
MVP, no, but I mean, I think he deserves a spot on the roster. Again, we have stuff to get to for tonight's games. We can talk about the Olympics in a couple months.
All right, we'll do that. It's Tom's show. Let me stick to Tom's rundown. Tom, we got hockey-wise, though, Tom, we are coming to the end of that regular season. Before we get to the pick you have, we all know in the NBA, ins and outs are very tricky. On the ice, is it similar? Less ice time possibly for key guys, or is everything kind of normal?
For most teams, it's kind of normal at this point. There's literally 1 or 2 games left for teams. So if they have to win and play, or if they have to play and win, those players will be playing. For example, the Canes tonight are resting like 6 of their normal starters. They have nothing to play for. So that roster is completely all over the place. But someone like Detroit, for the pick that I have, they have to not only win tonight, they need the Caps to lose tonight. A lot of different permutations. So they have to start off by taking care of business. And that just means beating Montreal, who they beat last night. They came back and won 5-4 in overtime. So tonight, let's go to Patrick Kane for a goal, plus 175. Second forward line, first power play. Since the start of April, Canadiens, they're allowing 3.18 goals per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That is bottom 10 in the league. Kane's got the shot volume, no goals over his last 3. They signed him for a reason. This is his time to score.
All right, so a little Patrick Kane action there. Question for you, and I know that, a few times I've kind of checked in on the Hart Trophy, and you've mentioned that, look, it just seems like it's McKinnon's year. The way I'm asking this is very sincere. What do I not know about hockey that doesn't allow me to understand the McKinnon price? Because from my understanding, Kucherov has more points, less help, right? The teams are about the same. That's my understanding. Just tell me where I'm wrong. Why is McKinnon such a strong minus 350 favorite to win the award?
Well, the difference initially would be that McKinnon's a center, so he has to take faceoffs, which are valuable, and Kucherov doesn't. Okay. So, he's just factually doing something that helps the team. Even though McKinnon, isn't amazing at taking faceoffs. They're much, he doesn't always take a ton of faceoffs with Mikko Rantanen taking the faceoffs. He's still a center, so he has to do more. And just when you look at his underlying metrics, he drives plays in a different way compared to Kucherov, where Kucherov's more of a facilitator, which is why he has so many assists compared to McKinnon, who still has plenty of assists, but he drives plays in a different way. Meanwhile, we're getting into minutia here in terms of really deep hockey analytics, but just the way McKinnon plays and controls the offense is slightly better compared to what Kucherov does.
Oh, that's why I ask. I know that there are things that because on the basketball end of it, right? The reason I'm a bit mean towards the Brunson stuff is he's definitively not the league MVP, and that's okay.
I agree with that. Like I have a Tatum
you
ticket,
do.
but I know that's dead.
When did you give up on the Tatum ticket? When did you officially give up?
Well, I had it before the season started. I gave up on it like once Embiid went on that run, and then Embiid got hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so it's not Embiid now; it's just going to be Jokic. So it's just not Tatum's year.
It is ironic that the reason to bet Tatum was true the entire year, and he had like a 7-day window where people were like, wait, they're the best team in the league. He should be MVP. And then it just fell off a cliff. By the way, before I let you go, because the next time I talk to you, I think the hockey playoffs will have started. Are there any Stanley Cup futures that you've been eyeing up, or are you going to wait for the bracket to officially be set?
Well, I have a Stars future at 11-1. I don't know the current odds. I have to check them real quick. The Stars are still at 8-1. That's borderline. I'd be willing to take a super long shot on Nashville at 27-1. If they can get Vancouver in the first round, they can beat Vancouver. I think Vancouver is kind of a fraud team. So if they can beat Vancouver, I'd be willing to roll with the Preds as a long shot. But I do have a Stars ticket at 10 or 11-1, whatever it is.
Rangers confidence level 1 to 10?
It's high, but like it makes me nervous to talk about them too much. Like I just want to like let them do their thing. I don't want to bring any. I want to keep them in the shadows while they just continue to do their thing. I can't talk about them too much. It makes me nervous.
I really appreciate this is way different than the Knicks stuff. I appreciate how simultaneously excited and nervous real Rangers fans are with this team. It is going to make for a great, great bit of postseason theater. Tom, appreciate you getting in the mix. As always, we'll talk to Joe Madden next year on Game Time Decisions.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
We are live on a Tuesday. I don't know if it's because Tuesday is kind of a Friday here for some of us. There's a bit of chaos in the background, getting yelled at. They want my Dinger Tuesday picks. I don't know if it's because they want to make graphics or because they want a tail. I can never tell. They'll get them eventually. You'll, as the people, get them eventually. But there's other things we have to get to. But we can't do that without the help of Joe Madden, who's with us here now on GameTime Decisions. Joe, how are you? Joe Madden muted right now. I was hoping that would just not be the case at a moment, but I don't hear Joe yet. We're going to fix that. Not a doubt in my mind.
I'm back.
I think we can hear you now, Joe. Fantastic. Almost a nightmare. Almost walked off the set, actually.
Yeah, it was. I was just saying, they were going to tail you. That's the only reason they're yelling at you for those picks in the break, and I think that's why they muted me. That it's not my fault at all. I didn't mute myself, so.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. So they're trying to protest here until they get the picks. All right, we'll try and continue to solve these riddles from the fellas in the back. In the meantime, Joe, let's go through some of these games here. Baseball-wise, there is some 640 action that did just get underway. 6:35 was Baltimore, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Colorado, and then we've also got Miami and San Fran, and then in 10 minutes it's Tampa, LA. Did you look at any of those games quickly on the baseball board that just got underway?
Just the one that's starting here with LA and the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm looking at this one for the Tampa Bay Rays with Aaron Savali to come out nice and strong. I think Savali can go over his strikeout props in this. That number coming in at 5.5. I know he's already faced the Angels once and was only able to record those 4 strikeouts, but Aaron Savali at home is such a stronger pitcher than he is out there on the road. We've seen him in those last couple of games at home. He was able to get 9 strikeouts on the LA Dodgers and 6 on the Toronto Blue Jays. So I do think this is one where that number of 5.5 is just too light based on what we saw out of him last time. Able to get 4 up there on the Angels on the road. I think it goes over the 5.5 in this one.
All right. Looking for some juice early in that game. We'll get back to the baseball in a moment here, but we got to start with the NHL. We're closing out the regular season here in a few days. And Joe, we've got Boston and Ottawa, the Bruins at home, a minus 210 favorite. Total in this game is 5.5. Do you like anything in this matchup?
I'm looking at the Senators in this matchup, plus the 1.5 on the puck line at minus 145, laying the juice. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of the Boston Bruins here. We know the New York Rangers clinched the President's Trophy last night, and I know the Boston Bruins want to take the Atlantic. The Florida Panthers are only 1 point behind them. My problem here is how flat they came out last night versus the Washington Capitals. They lost that game 2-0. And they weren't able to get those shots on a net. I know a lot of that was because of how strong the Washington Capitals were, but it was also the lack of preparation for the Boston Bruins coming out, going through the motions of these last couple of games. I do think here Ottawa has a chance of upsetting them. They're the team looking to play spoiler, and they're coming out nice and strong. So give me the Senators plus 1.5 at minus 145. I'll lay the juice, Kevin. I just can't find any value on the Boston Bruins in this matchup.
All right, certainly makes sense there. Joe, what about this Philadelphia Flyers game here at home against the Washington Capitals? Another 5.5 total with Philly as the home favorite.
Kevin, tomorrow I might not have a voice because this game is going to be absolutely nuts, and so will be the one between the Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens. Looking at the Washington Capitals and the Flyers here, they are battling it out for that last wild card spot. The Washington Capitals sitting in that spot right now. But if the Flyers can win this in regulation, they have every opportunity of taking that last wild card spot. For the Capitals, if they can push it to overtime, they still, even with a loss, getting that 1 point will hold them in playoff contention. There's so many different angles on who is going to get this last wild card spot. This game is so strongly dependent on what happens in it for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings as well. So looking at this matchup here, I expect both of these teams to lock down. Now, I could see a way where the Philadelphia Flyers get the win at home. I don't love it though, and I don't love the juice. So I'm going to look at that first period. That first period under 1.5 has all the value for me. Now the under 1.5 at -112, I really can't see, even with Charlie Lindgren on his second night of a back-to-back and the Washington Capitals on the second night of a back-to-back, 2 goals coming fast in that first period. I don't see the Capitals playing that sort of game, and the Flyers, if they come out and play that sort of game, could be caught in a game they don't want to play. So I think 1 goal comes at most in that first period. Give me the under 1.5, Kevin.
All right, we've got an under 1.5. By the way, to Joe's point about the importance of that game between Philly and Washington, the clinching scenarios, as I understand it, the Flyers need to win this game in regulation. And then they also need Detroit to lose in regulation and Pittsburgh to lose in regulation. That's a lot. That's a lot that needs to go Philly's way here, Joe.
That's so much. And you know what's really interesting, Kevin? I cannot find on any books this game to go to overtime. I'm not sure if the books are trying to protect themselves because this game has the opportunity to. They're not taking any action on it, though. And you think Washington's going to do their best to try to push this to overtime because they just need that 1 point to hold on.
60. So I guess just because I know, Joe, they probably don't have the overtime number. But a lot of these books, and I'm just looking around, because they'll, you know how they like hang something but has a different label? So this would work, right? 60-minute money line, Capitals Flyers tie, and then the tie would be the overtime, right? Plus 500.
There you go.
For this game to go to overtime. That. So down to plus 470 as we're talking. People clicking. People are clicking.
Look at you moving the line.
There we go. Joe, what about that game then between the Red Wings? They'll play Montreal once again.
Yeah, so we saw a crazy game last night. The Detroit Red Wings went down so fast. They just didn't show up in that first period, not able to capitalize and get those shots on goal. Sam Montembeault was phenomenal as well. Now, you look at Montreal, they gave it everything they had, but they let that game slip. And it pushed to overtime. The Red Wings got the win. The Red Wings don't control their own destiny, and that's the scary point for them here. They need the win, but they need so many other things to happen for them to be able to get into the playoffs. I do think you get the best out of the Red Wings, and I would look at them here for their team total over 3.5. We know the lack of resistance out there by Montreal. Montreal has been on a road trip, and they played phenomenally strong out there, and they played so hard in that game last night and let it slip away. The Red Wings, I can't see them scoring less than 4 goals in this game. So for them to make it into the playoffs, they need to win, plus the Capitals to lose in regulation or in overtime. And they also need, or they can get into the playoffs if the Red Wings lose in overtime and make the playoff. And still make the playoffs if Washington loses to the Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Penguins lose to the Islanders tomorrow. So there's so many different things that have to happen for Detroit here. Their destiny is not in their own hands. It's so confusing. Basically, they need to win tonight. Everyone else has to lose. Even if Washington loses in overtime, they can still sneak in if the Penguins lose tomorrow to the Islanders.
Yeah, it is. It's complicated. Is I think the best way to put it. I will say, I know people do this week 18 in the NFL, those clinching scenarios, and they'll start kind of clicking through the parlays. You can kind of start to do that of, oh, here is what I need in order to get my team to where I'm hoping they can go. Joe, some player props for you, one involving the Maple Leafs and then one involving the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, when you look at this game, I don't know. I think the Florida Panthers want to get the win here. If they move up to first in the Atlantic, it would be fantastic for them because then they would face that second spot in the Eastern Conference, in that wild card spot. So I do think they come out striving to get the win. Boston will need to get the loss for them to move into that spot. Toronto, how much are they going to show here? Because this could be a preview of the playoffs. This will be round one if these two teams stay where they're sitting at second and third in the Atlantic. Toronto can't move out of that third spot in the Atlantic. They're solidified there. So how much effort are we going to get out of them? Will they show their hand tonight? I think player props is the best way to go. Austin Matthews here for the anytime goal. We know he wants to hit that 70 mark. That's coming in at minus 110. But Kevin, do you know the player that's sitting right behind him for the most goals on the season after Austin Matthews? It's Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers. Wow. He has 55 goals on the season. So there's a huge gap between where he's sitting, but I do think he can come out nice and strong in this game. He's also leading the league in power play points. He has 27 power play goals. Sorry, not the points, the power play goals. 27 on the season. I think you look at him tonight for the anytime goal at plus 135, or if your book will offer it, the power play point again. There is a lot of odds not coming out on some of the books today. I can't find the power play point anywhere for Sam Reinhart. Again, the books, I think, are trying to protect themselves with this one, but I do think he gets the power play point and the anytime goal at plus 135, hopefully in one combination.
Yeah, look, some of those top goal scorers are in action. Now, again, we'll talk to Joe again at around 7:10, so about 20 minutes from now. We'll go through the rest of the card here. But, Joe, some of the earlier baseball action that we have is about to start. We mentioned, Tampa and L.A. You mentioned the Savali pick there. But we've also got the New York teams in action, the Yankees and Rodon in Toronto. Dropped the first game. What do you expect here for the second game of this series?
I'm looking here at Justin Turner of the Toronto Blue Jays. We know that he wasn't able to get a hit off yesterday, but he's still one of their best hitters. I'm going to take him for an RBI in this one. You're getting plus money at plus 145. Looking at Rodon, he has been strong, going 1-0 with a 2.87 ERA. But you look at how strong Justin Turner is at hitting lefties, and he's coming out phenomenal. So give me Justin Turner for the RBI off a weak game yesterday.
All right, we'll see. The Yankees booked as the dog once again in this series here. Kikuchi gets the baseball in this matchup for Toronto. And then the other New York team, which would be the Mets at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Joe, what do you like in this game?
I'm going to look at the Mets team total over 3.5. That's coming in at minus 113. Looking at the Pirates here, they're fantastic value as an underdog. They've actually won 8 times as their 12 times as the underdog this season. When we look here at the Mets as a favorite, it really hasn't been paying off for us. If you've been betting them in this favorite role, they've only won 4 of their last 10. But I'm worried about Jared Jones coming out here for the Pirates today. He's been allowing some big hits, some big home runs to come off of him. And I do expect this one with the Mets, how strong their bats have been, to be able to hit nicely off of him. I think the 3.5 is a little light in this matchup. I could see this one finishing sort of 5-4 with the Mets on top, but the Pirates as the underdog role, it's been a bet on for me so far this season. So I don't want to step in front of them here. I'm just going to take the Mets team total over that 3.5. I think they get there either way, Kevin.
All right, a little Mets team total action there on the board for Joe. We will talk to her again in about 20 minutes time here to go through the rest of the baseball and the rest of the NHL. Joe, appreciate the breakdowns as always.
Thanks, Kevin. Best of luck to everyone tonight. I'll see you in a little bit here.
All right, now we are, again, 4 games deep now into this baseball board. Baltimore, Minnesota. That nerfie comes in for anyone who bet it. Miami, San Fran, another nerfie, and an out away from 3-0 to start the baseball board on a Dinger Tuesday to the nerfie in the game between Philadelphia and Colorado. We'll keep tabs on that Tampa-LA game for the people as well. The 7 o'clock baseball board will continue to pick up. We'll get you the Dinger Tuesday picks as well as the Davis-Maddox same-game parlay here on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it, but the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh with you a Tuesday night. We're going to go through the NBA card in 3 minutes time here. We'll go through it a few times to make sure everybody is set up. Pels, Lakers, Kings, Warriors. We're also going to get your Dinger Tuesday picks on the board in a moment. But let's get a Davis Maddock SGP in the mix here. The people are looking for some action late night. Sacramento, Golden State. Here's how Davis Maddock's approaching this one.
All right, guys, we are heading to the NBA play-in games for our same-game parlay on the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight. The 9-10 game, the Golden State Warriors at the Sacramento Kings. I'm taking the Golden State Warriors on the money line. No Kevin Huerter, no Malik Monk. Really hurts the Kings. So much of their offense is built around dribble handoffs with Domantas Sabonis. There's going to be a lot of Davion Mitchell and Keon Ellis here, which is also why our second leg is going to be under 223 points. I think that both of these teams are going to slow things down a good bit here. Also imagine that the Warriors should solve some of their turnover woes, and that's going to mean playing more Chris Paul. That is going to get us under that 223 number, in my opinion. And then our third leg is we're going to take Steph Curry to score 30 or more points in this game. I know that Steph is built for these moments. I think he'll take over probably 19, 20 shots tonight. Should get him to 30 points, no problem. This three-leg same-game parlay gives us plus 416 odds. Golden State Warriors money line under 223, and Steph Curry to record 30 or more points in this game. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, Davis Maddock helping us out with his same-game parlay for tonight's matchup between Sacramento and Golden State. Really tricky game. If you are a trend better, you could probably find yourself to the window on Golden State. Have it straight up this season, 19-2 as a road favorite. But 3 of the 4 games this season between the Kings and the Warriors have been decided by exactly 1 point. So Warriors, is anyone out there getting tangy with a Warriors money line, Kings plus the points parlay? I'm not sure I hate it. I am not. We'll go through the picks for the NBA card tonight as well as Dinger Tuesday back in less than a minute right here on SportsGrid. Game Time Decisions. We're live right here on a Tuesday. It is a Dinger Tuesday, of course, which is exciting. What I want to do, rip through the NBA plays in 20 minutes. We're going to reset everything, go through the full breakdown for the people in tonight's 2 play-in games. But I want to make sure that if you're just tuning in here, top of the hour, you have my picks and plays for tonight's games. Lakers, Pelicans. When this game was set, the thought for me was going to be Pel's money line. Heck, the most unbiased man in the history of sports media wouldn't be scared to bet against the Lakers. I'm now scared to bet against the Lakers because I don't know if New Orleans really has what it takes to eliminate LeBron and AD in this spot. I know the Lakers would have a second chance at it here, but this is a big game. I'm backing away from the side. I do have a piece of Brandon Ingram over his points, rebounds, and assists at 28.5. This is a minutes thing. It's why I'm playing the full deal. You could play his points, you could play his rebounds, you could play his assists isolated. It all looks a bit light because BI did not play a ton in Sunday's game. It was his first game back in a long time. But now Brandon Ingram is in his second game back. It is basically a playoff game, and I expect that number to uptick. BI also has always taken the Lakers matchup very personally. As much as AD and LeBron clearly show up for this game, BI always shows up because a part of BI probably wishes he was never traded from the Lakers, or at minimum felt it was disrespectful that he was traded from the Lakers, whether it was or not. So give me the 28.5 minutes discount there, PRA, for Brandon Ingram. My favorite bet, though, is Anthony Davis over 3.5 blocks plus steals. Store this one away. It could be something we bet all postseason long, assuming the Lakers are playing, if this number is not adjusted. I'll explain. But first, let's get the radio audience in here. Happy to have you. Sirius XM Channel 159, Kevin Walsh, Game Time Decisions across the SportsGrid network on a Tuesday night. Talking a little Lakers, Pelicans. AD, 3.5 blocks plus steals. First of all, we do love a bounce back. AD coming off of a 0-block game against New Orleans. Don't bank on that happening with any type of regularity. But this is a playoff number. Last year, play-in included, where this was a winner. 13-4 to the over. Anthony Davis on this number. Minutes uptick. Defensive intensity upticks, and AD, one of the 5 best defensive players in basketball, steps up here in both categories. Give me AD over the 3.5 blocks plus steals. This plays at a minus 110 price. Absolutely no hesitation there. I'm taking a piece of the over. Late night Kings Warriors. Again, just talked a few seconds ago about the trickiness of this line. The value part of me says Sacramento. The pure results part of me says Golden State. I'm not playing the side. I'm playing the total. I'm playing it over. 222.5. This number drops, I think, partially because it's a playoff game. I get that. Well, we just saw Sacramento play a playoff game, if you will, against Phoenix, and there was only 215 points. But I'm not going to allow a one-game overreaction to stop me from betting the over. I'm going to take the discount that is this number. That game against Phoenix was booked at 225.5. If you compare the Suns and the Warriors, Golden State should produce higher totals. They're a bit faster, a tick better on offense. Not by a lot. They're very similar. So at minimum, this total should be 225.5, 226, right? So I'll take the 4 to 5 point discount that we're getting on this total and play it over. My favorite pick in the game, though, is Klay Thompson, 5.5 rebounds plus assists. This is 5.5 expensive over. I believe minus 146 was the juice that I ultimately played that at. That does say 3.5. All good. I just want to make it clear for people. It's 5.5 over rebounds and assists for Klay Thompson. I want to just find the up-to-date juice for people here on that number for Klay. Minus 146. Some spots it is minus 150. But there is one place that's a 6.5. And right there you can kind of see that difference. Klay Thompson, when he plays at least 35 minutes, 9 out of 10 games over this number. Not going to get better than that. Klay Thompson, this is a playoff game. Played 38 against the Pels, which the Warriors treated with almost playoff-level minutes. Played 36 minutes per game last year in the playoffs. It is that simple. How about Klay Thompson 32 or more minutes? 20-6 on this 5.5 number. I think you're getting great value. Let's get Klay Thompson over the 5.5 rebounds plus assists. Dinger Tuesday. So far, we've approached Dinger Tuesday with 2 picks each Tuesday. Week number 1, we had a Cody Bellinger victory, a Ronald Acuna Jr. loss. Week number 2, we had a Corbin Carroll victory and a Randy Arozarena loss. We will take 1-1 every single time. Today there are 3. That is because there is a almost ceremonial player in this bunch here. That is Ronald Acuna Jr., who we lost the first time we did this. And I will tell you this right now. Every single Dinger Tuesday, I will bet Ronald Acuna Jr. until he hits his first home run. I promise you that. He is still home runless. That is, I am not kidding, the entire part of the cap is that a guy last year who had 41 dingers doesn't have one yet this season. Now, last year, you might say is an outlier. It's probably somewhere in between. It tied a career high. The year prior, he only actually hit 15, but the year before that, he hit 24 in 82 games. It's very interesting. It's going to be a down power year for Acuna Jr., but I can't not get in the mix here since he still has not hit his first home run. I am going to take his former teammate Freddie Freeman at plus 450 to go deep as well. Wind blowing out a little bit tonight at Dodger Stadium. Good for me. Freddie Freeman, lefty, doesn't worry me too much. And we know that deep shots can be provided with Patrick Corbin as the opposing pitcher. Maybe some people will look Mookie Betts. Maybe some people will look Shohei Ohtani. But I'm going to take Freddie Freeman. Look, there is an aspect of due here for me. You guys know this is how I operate. And Freddie Freeman, I almost said junior, Freddie Freeman only has 1 home run so far this season. Freddie, you can probably pencil in for 25-ish home runs. I think you would usually expect from him. Had 29 last year. Freddie Freeman hitting a home run tonight, again, with the circumstances, I think works out nicely. And then lastly, Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt has 1 home run. It was in the opening game of the season. Tonight it's his second. It's plus 470 here. This is, of the 3, my favorite of the bunch at plus 470. Wind a tick, if at all, blowing out in Oakland tonight. The matchup against J.P. Sears. Goldschmidt's seen him twice, hit 1 home run. But again, Paul Goldschmidt, way too good of a hitter. Way too good of a hitter for this to keep up, and I think that's going to stop here. So give me Paul Goldschmidt at plus 470 for a home run. Again, Goldschmidt and Freeman are really the 2 and true of today's Dinger Tuesday picks, but Acuna Jr., and you see it right there. Excellent job by the folks in the back. Respect play. It has to be done. So we add him at plus 420. Don't forget, you opt in on Dinger Tuesday, and if you can get 5 home runs in the game, you're automatically getting your do-re-mi back, which is all the people could ask for there. I am a bit tempted, though, tonight in the Astros on the money line, home dog with Hunter Brown on the mound. Perhaps a bit of a buy low on Houston. We'll talk to Joe Matt in a moment. We're live with you on SportsGrid.
is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're back right here. It's Game Time Decisions. The baseball picks. We did the Dinger Tuesday. Tanner Bybee. I always say BB. I will say BB probably the next time. I took him over 15.5 recorded outs. Took a piece of the Astros money line at -106, and the MLB play of the day is going to be Xander Bogaerts over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. That is at -145. I don't mind laying juice when we're getting involved with the baseball board, though. So that is all good by me. Let's get to the baseball board a little bit more with Joe Madden here, and then we'll get back to the ice. Joe, I mentioned Xander Bogaerts batting leadoff for San Diego. What do you think about the Padres and their matchup with the Milwaukee Brewers?
Well, I mistakenly took the Brewers yesterday thinking they were able to get something done, and this Padres team is really showing us that they can come out nice and strong. Now we look at the Padres here. Dylan Cease expected to get the start, and I do think with him getting the start, the Padres can win another one here on the road. They've won their last 2. They got the nice win over the Brewers yesterday, and they had come off that win versus the Dodgers. I thought this game yesterday would have been a letdown, and now with their form, how they're playing right now, I can't look at any other way but the San Diego Padres to be able to get it done. So you're laying -120 with them here, but I feel confident that they can take this one. This team is just going so nicely out there. They're on a hot run, and I don't want to step in front of it, Kevin.
Yeah, look, again, I think it makes sense. We'll see if the Padres can stay hot. I'm hoping certainly at the top of their lineup that will be the case. Astros, Braves, Joe, I mentioned playing Houston here. It is, look, it's hard to say it's do or die for Hunter Brown because it's the Braves lineup, but he was supposed to be their ace, and getting the Astros ace as a home dog is too tempting for me. It's Ronaldo Lopez on the other side. It's not some superstar going for Atlanta. So I'll take a chance at minus 106 on their money line. But you're going to fade Hunter Brown to a degree, and I absolutely understand it.
Yeah, to a degree, taking his strikeouts to the under. Now, that doesn't mean the Astros can't still come out and get the win, but I do like him under the 5.5 strikeouts. We look at him with only 8 strikeouts on the season, and I just can't take him to this over. Now, if you take it over, you're going to get so much better value because the juice on the under is minus 145. I think you could alt down these strikeouts to under 4.5 strikeouts. With only 8 on the season, he had none versus the Royals, which is just terrible not to even be able to get 1 strikeout on the board, and only 3 versus the Rangers and 5 versus the Yankees. So I do think this is one where he gets closer to that 3 mark. I like it under 5.5, and I do like it under 4.5. But like I said, Kevin, I still do think the Astros could end up coming out and get the win, but not in the first 5. If you look at the Braves in the first 5 on that money line, I do think it's a strong way because the Astros have only been able to hit the first 5 money line in 12 of their last 44 games at home. So I think first 5 money line's a scary situation for the Astros, but would be a nice way to look for the Braves.
All right, Joe, what about a late night situation here between the Mariners and the Reds, Gilbert and Green? This game yesterday was higher scoring than expected, at a very low pregame total. I believe at a 7, might have even opened up at 6.5. What do you see in Seattle?
This is going to be an interesting one because I have a lot of faith in Logan Gilbert. I want to take a strikeout prop to the over, but they have this jacked at 7.5. It's a lot to ask for a pitcher, and I don't want to take that number to it, but I do think he probably goes over there. And then looking at Hunter Green, he really needs a bounce back off that last game where he allowed those 6 earned runs at home. Him out here on the road, I do have the confidence in him, and he was able to get those strikeouts as well in that last game, even though he allowed those runs to come in. He was able to put up 9. So I do have faith in both of these pitchers to come out, especially in that first 5. I'm going to take the first 5 under 3.5. That's coming in at minus 130. And yes, it's scary after what we saw yesterday, but Seattle's been a little inconsistent out there with their hitting. I do think the first 5 we can take under. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if this comes really tight to the full total for the full game, Kevin.
All right, and then lastly, before we get back to the ice, Joe, some action on the Dodgers. I was telling Donnie today on Moneyline on the radio side how you and I were talking about the Dodgers-Nats game. And I said, I know this will sound weird, but they're minus 390, and I think there's a value on the Dodgers. Like, I'm surprised they're not minus 490 in this game. They got smashed relatively about as much as the, Dodgers can. Glass now lit up by the Nationals. What do you expect in the second game between LA and Washington?
Can we get the bounce back here for the Dodgers is my biggest question. They lost to the Padres. I expected the bounce back yesterday. The Nationals came out and completely owned them, winning that one 6-4 in a game that I thought you could take an alt run line because I really did expect more out of them. I do have faith here in Millard coming out to get the start for the LA Dodgers. Corbin Burns on the other side for the Washington Nationals. He's been lit up to start the season, and I'm really hoping the bats can explode here for the LA Dodgers. I'm going to take their team total over 5.5 at minus 120. After losing 2 in a row, I'd look for the Yurfee as well in that first inning, the yes runs in the first inning, because I do think they have to start off solid in this one in that first inning. They're going to be mad that the Washington Nationals were the team who got a run in the first, got a run in the second, and then ended up pulling away with that win yesterday. So I'm counting on the Dodgers to come back. But Kevin, yesterday the Nationals beat them. So it's a scary situation here with the Dodgers.
Got to certainly tread lightly. We'll go back to the NHL. And by the way, of the 3 games that we highlighted that really matter, all scoreless so far. So those 5.5s are dropping, but they're still sitting right now at 5.5, just kind of juice dependent here. A game that's pregame 5.5, Joe, is Winnipeg and Seattle. What do you think of the Jets and the Kraken?
The Jets need 1 point, so they just have to push this game to overtime to get the home ice over the Colorado Avalanche in their series in the playoff, because those two teams are locked into playing each other. And I do think the Jets pick up that point tonight. I'm looking at them to come out nice and strong versus the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken have struggled to be able to score on the season 2 or fewer goals in 5 of their last 8 games. And you listen to how these players are talking. Jared McCann says it's hard to find motivation to get out there to play, and he did add a but we're playing for each other, and we're for next season for these coaches to see what we can do. So I think the Kraken have given up with statements like that, Kevin. I'm looking for the Winnipeg Jets to get up nice and fast in the first period, hold that lead and lock down. I'm going to take them in the first period on that puck line laying a half a goal. That's coming in at plus 130.
All right, Joe, and then we've got this Blackhawks Golden Knights game here. Chicago plus 320 on the money line. No surprise. What do you think about Vegas and Chicago?
This is going to be an interesting one, because the motivation for the Vegas Golden Knights to move up to third in the Pacific, I'm just not sure where they want to finish this. Third in the Pacific or that second wild card spot is wide open for this team. They're 1 point behind the LA Kings. We know the Kings were unable to get the win last night. If this team gets the second spot in the wild card, they will face the Dallas Stars, which will be incredibly hard. It's not like third in the Pacific is an easier matchup, but they've had success versus Vegas or versus Edmonton so far this season. So Vegas versus Edmonton would be the case if they jump back up to third in the Pacific. I'm looking at this first period to be a higher scoring one. We know here the Chicago Blackhawks are not giving much protection. They've got one of the best or worst blue lines in the whole league, and Peter Mrazek hasn't been strong because of it. So I'm looking for the first period over 1.5. It's kind of juicy at minus 132. If you're looking for goal scorers here, William Karlsson has been absolutely clutch for the Vegas Golden Knights, and Jack Eichel. I'd be looking at both of them for the anytime goal or their points, but I do think Vegas gets up and then locks down, Kevin.
Fantastic. Again, can't wait to watch it all play out. And Joe, we will check in as we get again closer to the NHL playoffs. Appreciate it. Best of luck tonight.
Best of luck, everyone out there.
All right, it'll be fun to follow all this NHL action. But coming up shortly, the beginning of the NBA playoffs, really, the NBA play-in. But these games matter. These games will change a lot, including the futures markets. We'll talk about that and the picks next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals, saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early
The
line.
magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's talk some hoop here. We're about to get underway with the game between the Lakers and the Pelicans. I believe that's going to be a 7:40 tip. We are going to experience, at a high level, one of my least favorite things about the NBA, which is when I cannot tell if their games start at 7:30 or 7:40. The books say 7:40. Everything else says 7:30. If you guys bet the NBA regularly, you know that with TNT, it's tricky. I believe it's at 7:40. I'll reset for the Lakers Pelicans game. If you're just tuning in again, my favorite bet is AD over 3.5 steals and blocks, but I'm also taking Brandon Ingram over 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I just want to quickly take a look at the big picture prices, right? So these two teams to make the playoffs, the Lakers are at minus 550. That's a crazy number. There's no way anybody out there is betting that. You would just bet their money line tonight and then roll it over to game two. The Lakers are not going to be some unbettable favorite in the game against the Kings or the Warriors if they play in it. So that minus 550 is certainly not your best investment. And I don't know how many people are going to bet the no on the Lakers to make the playoffs at plus 370. I think you'd probably prefer to bet the yes as it relates to either Sacramento or Golden State, and just take your chance that one of those teams could knock off the loser in this opening game. Golden State is plus 250. Sacramento is plus 410. And it's funny, but on the drive in, I was thinking a little bit about if I would be interested in taking one of these play-in teams to win the conference before tonight's games begin. Because you're, of course, going to get, you would imagine, a better number tonight than tomorrow, with everything kind of settling there, taking that risk. But to go through these four teams, the Lakers are currently, and I'll use the FanDuel numbers, 18-1. If the Lakers win this game tonight, I don't know if it's going to drop. It means they play Denver. I think the Lakers will hang with Denver more than the public, but the books are not going to cut them down to 10-1. The notion for a lot of people, and I get it, is they can't beat Denver. Not even like they can't beat Denver in a series, like they can't beat Denver at all, even once. There are going to be people who bet Nuggets in 4, right? Nuggets minus a game and a half, minus 2.5 games. I get it. The Lakers' price would be shorter overall if they lost tonight and won on Thursday. That would be the shortest. That would be a shorter number than what it would be if they do win tonight's game. Because the idea is they match up well with OKC, which they seem to actually do. But again, the Lakers are not taking that risk. I'm not betting the Lakers at 18-1. I don't see a scenario where I bet the Lakers to win this conference. I'll be interested in some of their series items if they play Denver. And of course, if they play Oklahoma City, I think there's going to be some positive Laker bets you can make in Denver, because rarely the idea is, do you get value on the Lakers / LeBron?
Denver's the exception because of how much the idea is there is nothing they can do to hang with that basketball team. New Orleans is 30-1. Similarly, I think the Pels are tempting, if they play Denver, to go longer in the series than people expect. I don't think I'm betting the Pels to run through the West, though. And I'm not betting the Pels tonight because I think it is risky that they could beat the Lakers and then avoid an upset at the hands of Sacramento or Golden State. No, thank you. I thought the Warriors for a moment could have been interesting, but I don't think there's any value at 45-1. I'd probably want 60. Now, here's the thing. 60-1 before the play-in. If the Warriors get out of this all, the number would be 20, maybe less. But nobody's ever made it up from the 10 into the playoffs. So that's what's working against the Warriors in a massive way. But the Warriors are favored in this game here against the Kings. We know they can beat the Lakers, and we know they can beat the Pelicans. They just can. And then they would play the Thunder, and at that point, think about the knock on OKC that you've heard as we've been getting closer to this playoffs. Too young. It's why the idea is the Lakers are a bad matchup, right? Because the Lakers are so battle-tested, and they have LeBron, right? And AD, who's won a title next to LeBron. If the Warriors, if you're going to bet against OKC because of postseason experience, Golden State would have to be a tempting option to you to actually win that series. Well, now all of a sudden, 45-1, if they beat the Thunder, it's 8-1, maybe way less, right? It's Clippers or Mavs, and you would take your chances in that series. You really would. The problem is I'm not getting a good enough number at the starting point. I don't feel like I am at 45. I really, really don't. Funny enough, the team that you're getting value on is Sacramento at 100-1. There's 120-1. That's so crazy. There is a 120-1 number out there on the Kings to win the West. It's what I call, and we'll talk to him in a moment here, a Sharapan number. Dave and I used to, when we do In-Play Sports Tonight, I would talk to him about Giancarlo Stanton to win MVP. And he'd be like, Kev, you can make all the points in the world you want, and they can all be correct. But at the end of the day, is he going to win the award? No. So I'll hang a bad number, get bets on it, and I'll make the number even worse and get more bets on it because I'm not going to pay that ticket out, is what he would say. Stanton's not won an MVP as a New York Yankee. And are the Kings going to win the West? No. They're not. But they should be 120-1. What's that number if Sacramento makes it out of the play-in? Teams have made it from the 9 before. Part of that is obviously not having to win 2 straight road games. If they beat the Warriors tonight, that wouldn't be the most stunning thing you've ever seen. And they would either play the Lakers, whose number they seem to have, or a Pelicans team that then you go right back to the public thinking, oh, Sacramento can beat them. Sure, we're not. But they obviously would have a chance in the basketball game. What does the 120-1 number go if they just win tonight? 75? 60? Maybe. If the Kings are the 8th seed, is it the 30-1 number the Pels are? Maybe 50-1? You are absolutely destroying that number if they get in. But then what? Right? You put your $10 on it to win back $1,200, and then you lay the OKC number and just start working off of it series by series. Is that really what you want to do? Probably not. And that's, I think, where, again, that Sacramento number comes from. At 120-1, it's a preposterous number. The books just don't think they're ever going to pay it out. And even as I'm sitting here talking to you about it, and even as I believe that is an awful number, I don't think I would ever cash that ticket. I can beat that number. I can beat it. Again, you will slaughter that number with just the upset win tonight at home for Sacramento. And then what? That's kind of the issue that I had there. So I'm not playing, and I know it's if you made me bet one of these teams tonight, it would be Golden State. Again, between FanDuel and DraftKings, the two that I primarily look at, it was 45. If you found a 50, I'd start to be real interested. It's just history works against the Warriors that a 10 seed hasn't made it up. But here's the counter. It's a limited history. And also, has a 10 seed ever been a favorite in the opening game? Probably not. I'd have to go back and double check. But that almost kind of changes the equation, right? Because again, 9s have made it up. So if you win the game you're favored to win, then you have to only pull off one upset. It's probably the notion of pulling off consecutive upsets. Because people will, if we get the series, pick Golden State. People will pick Golden State to beat Oklahoma City. They will. There's going to be people who say, true or not, the Warriors have the best player in the series. It's ridiculous until the series is over, and then we would evaluate it, right? SGA is definitely better than Steph. But then there's the postseason stuff where Steph is a known commodity and SGA hasn't proven anything yet. And the playoff stuff is real. It is. It matters. It's why it's why Denver has the gap they do with the rest of the West. Because Denver's done it and really nobody else at the top of the seeding has, right? I mean, it's why the Clippers numbers have stayed where they were because, well, Kawhi's won a Finals MVP twice, even if it was a while ago, and he can't stay healthy. But but he can do it. So it's why those numbers stay where they do. Again, the Warriors would be the one if I had to do it. And there's a sick part of me that is tempted. But I'll probably allow that to pass me by. How much does it drop if they win tonight? It doesn't go to 20. And if it goes to 30, you would still probably be interested enough. And again, maybe you can get some fun numbers in a series against OKC if that's how this all lands. Again, the picks for that game that is about to tip. Anthony Davis, over 3.5 steals plus blocks at -110. And then Brandon Ingram, over 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -105. We'll talk to Dave Sharapan next here on Game Time Decisions.
There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals, saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live. We are live in New Orleans as well. Of course, the game tipped at 7:30.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be difficult to figure out when an NBA playoff game starts. It shouldn't be difficult. And it always is. It's always a mess.
Oh.
That's all right, though. Consig, Dave Sharapan is here. Dave, happy to have you. How are we feeling?
Oh, we're feeling great. You know, we got through yesterday. I got the wife, big fan of K-Dub. She's watching it right now.
Appreciate
she said
that.
this Kevin Walsh looks great. The beard looks good. I got little Consig down there keeping me abreast of the Lakers and the Pelicans. I was going to come on. I did a test with them. I was going to come on in full Laker regalia for you today. I was thinking about it. But then I had to focus on a couple hockey games tonight, which I'll be focused on along all of it with Wetzel coming up here on In-Game Live. But I need the Canadians to win today. And it will be the last time I will be wearing
for Pittsburgh
anything blue, blanc, and rouge. That's the last time for any of this. So, yes, to keep the Penguins' hopes alive, they need the Canadians to win and the Flyers to beat the Capitals, which I don't think it's going to happen. But look at this beautiful graphic. The boys are doing outstanding work here. Sam, Foster, whichever
Yes,
one
sir.
is responsible for that. That looks great.
All of them.
I love it.
All of them.
It's good.
I think Koski also, who
Koski,
I can
always
hear
shout out
from
Chris,
here,
always.
laughter in the back. He was probably not happy at a moment's notice that his name was not
Koski
mentioned
and I
there.
are on a little bit of a break for a couple days. Okay, Koski and I, the Pirates are playing the Mets. I had the Mets yesterday.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Mets again today, but I like the under because Jones is a really good pitcher.
Right.
So me and Koski are good. We're always good. But when your teams play each other, Kevin, you know how this goes. Sometimes there's just no talking for a couple days.
No
That's
doubt.
all. Yeah.
No
all
doubt.
love.
No doubt.
All love.
By the way, we have so far in this opening inning here, I'm seeing a Xander Bogaerts base hit, and Xander Bogaerts is now on third.
Let's go.
So let's
Are
get
you on the X, man, tonight? You on the X?
hits, runs, RBIs. So just got to score them now. That's all we got to do.
Just get in. We just got to
Bases
get
loaded,
in.
nobody out. So that'll work. That'll work. We can.
Did you do anything for Dinger Tuesday before we get out of the way here? Are you on anything for
Yes.
Dinger Tuesday?
Yes. I have. Man, I feel like this did not go well. This Xander thing. I'll let you. Dinger Tuesday. Acuna Jr. On a respect play because he hasn't homered yet. But I've been picking two guys every Tuesday. So Acuna Jr. is kind of like, aha! All right, here we go. Tuesday. All right, there we go. Attaboy, Manny Machado. He grounded out to the pitcher, and Bogart still scored. That's first inning cash. Attaboy. Now, Acuna Jr. is the respect play. It's almost like an asterisk, right? If it hits, amazing. If it loses, it's unfortunate. I just have to bet him. He hasn't homered yet. I'm also taking Paul Goldschmidt, plus 470. Freddie Freeman, plus 450, Dave.
Okay. So St. Louis is playing Oakland.
Yes.
Sears. Okay. That's a fair number for a Goldschmidt homer. Not that they fly out a lot in Oakland right now, especially against Sears, but okay. Freeman, what lefty? You went with Freeman? Was the Dodger you picked today against Corbin?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't mind bucking the trend sometimes with the lefty. I could have gone Mookie Betts.
Of course.
Mookie's difficult. Maybe I should. It's one of the, he's already hit so many home runs relative to the amount of games that we've played.
Right.
I hesitated a bit there. And Freddie's only sent one out so far, right? He's seen Patrick Corbin plenty. So that was worth it for me. Lakers grab what is, I believe, their first lead of the game here, 17-15. High scoring. D'Angelo Russell off to a great start. CJ McCollum answers. Jonas Valanciunas is going to probably pay people. He's off to a great start, points and rebounds wise. His minutes got absolutely crushed in that regular season finale, and it opened up a lot of value for people here today. LeBron is out there just kind of moving the needle a little bit. I'll do the box score check. I haven't seen a stoppage of play, I feel like, the entire time I've been watching this thing. Dave, what did you think about the Lakers and their matchup with the Pelicans here in a 7-8 play-in?
I was leaning Pelicans. And I don't know if I'm buying into this conspiracy theory that it's better for the Lakers if they lose and then they beat.
It's dumb.
It's ridiculous, right? Like,
it's
if
dumb.
They lose, they get to play OKC. So why would you risk losing? Right? They got to play another game. They had meaningful games leading up to this, and AD didn't play, LeBron didn't play. I don't want to play more games if I'm the Lakers. I want to play as few games as possible to win and go in. They're going to have to beat Denver at some point. Beat them in the first round. You may be able to catch them. I'm not saying they will.
Yeah.
Okay, but
LeBron
I heard you before on the last segment. You're right. People are going to bet the sweep. The Nuggets are not going to sweep the Lakers. I'm just saying it right now. They're not going to sweep the Lakers. It's as much as you want to believe it, and Laker haters will. And you are, what's your title again? The most unbiased man in sports gambling media?
In the history of sports media as a whole.
History. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Dave, to that point, I was going to bet Pelicans. It's a great spot.
Perfect.
The reason I didn't is there are two very real narratives that would push me to the Lakers. So I didn't bet the side. The first narrative is what you just talked about, in that the Lakers are never going to want to give credence to the idea they ducked Denver, right? Trust me, They hear this nonsense, and they are now, at this point, probably wanting the chance. Look, you're going to have to play Denver anyway, right? So you might as well play them now. But it's the big one, Dave, is AD and LeBron take the Pelicans matchup very serious and always have. They are 10-3 together against New Orleans. Because it's not just AD against his former team, but it's the idea LeBron traded all of the kids away for Anthony Davis. So they both always step up for this game. It's a perfect Pels spot. It's just the history of these teams stopped me from betting the Pels. I didn't bet the Lakers, though. So I left it be.
I had my Pelicans hat ready to go. It's right here.
It's a nice hat.
I won't allow myself to do it. I just will not allow myself to do it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is black. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty nice.
Snapback?
Look at that thing. Yeah, Pelicans. This thing was on the sale rack. Just like, listen, I'm the only one with one of these probably in town.
One strap? What did you say? What did you and Donnie say? One notch?
One notch. Yeah, this won't fit you. This is definitely not your size.
Certainly not.
Definitely not. Especially if you keep letting that hair grow, you can't wear the Pelicans hat. But I understand everything you said. You saw the line move. Anyone that had Lakers -1, the line flipped before the game. It's a perfect spot for the Pelicans. But you gotta dismiss all of the history. You gotta dismiss the fact that it's LeBron and AD on the other side of everything that's going on. The Lakers win this game. They get the Nuggets. So what? They get an early rest. They don't have to make another trip, travel anywhere. They don't have to go back home, win a must-win game, another high-leverage basketball game. They get in the bracket right there in that spot at the bottom and play the Nuggets. That ain't a bad side to be on. It's not.
They get off.
You could be down.
They get off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You think LeBron doesn't want 3 days rest?
Exactly. That's the sell pitch in the room. Win today. We're going to Denver.
They know that, though.
Let's go.
Correct. They know that. Now, we talked a little bit before we went live, and you said lead consig told you, hey, this Kevin Walsh just said the Sharapan number.
Yes.
And what I was talking about was the Sacramento Kings at one book were 120 to 1 to win the West.
Yes.
It's a terrible number. That shouldn't be the number. But nobody, but I respect when I see things like this. Nobody in that room is worried that they're going to have to pay out that number, so why not? That was my read when I saw it.
Listen, when are we going to get any more Sacramento Kings money to win the championship before today if they lose? We got to put a number out there that screams, come on in. We'll deal with it later if they get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
This is what the books do. We got to give you a reason to actually willingly hand over your money or push the button on the app, despite the fact that this is that old school logo, the Kings logo. They're at home. The Warriors are favored. Listen, a lot of big legends are retiring from the booths. A lot of things are changing course of action, all these things, okay? This might be one of those. The Kings can get them. The Kings most definitely can get them. But who's going to bet it? That's the thing. I don't know, Kevin. I really don't know. I think this is a harder game than the Lakers and Pels to have an opinion about. I really don't know. This is an in-game dream. I think we're going to have both sides of this thing at one point while I'm watching it later. So I don't know pregame what I like. I really don't.
I want to see what something silly pays for a second. See if I can get you
I
there.
like when you're doing this. So, all right, while you're looking, can I ask you as a hockey guy, because I know you're a hockey guy.
That's right.
Austin Matthews, goal tonight. To get 70, the ninth player in the history of NHL to get 70 goals. Did anybody reach out to you about Austin Matthews, one of your guys? You know the guy.
Joe Madden.
Hey.
Oh, no, not the guy, though.
Not that
the
guy?
The guy hit a Terstaken shutout the other night with the Rads. So you know what that means. He's coming in big for hockey playoffs. You know what that means. You know what that means.
Yes.
Hold on. This is what I wanted to throw you. It's knucklehead, but it's plus 732. Warriors money line. Kings plus the 3. 3 out of 4 of the games were decided by exactly 1 point. Here is a number I looked up, and I still can't believe it. The Warriors this season, Dave, 21 games as a road favorite. What do you think their straight-up record is in those games?
8 wins?
19.
They've won 19 of those games?
Look at that face. I got to tell you, it's been a while since I got Dave to make that face. I got to tell you. Dave, I keep looking at it thinking something's wrong, but I swear it's what it says.
I can't believe it. I thought for sure it was less than half. That's why I went 8. I thought half of 21.
Yeah.
It's probably 10 or 11. I'll go under. Wow, I'm shocked. That's surprising. Wow.
I looked it up so I could have a stat when I came on here and told people take the Kings. And then I saw it, and I went, I like the total. That's a jarring number.
Over or under? Over or under? Over. Gotta have juice. This game gotta have juice.
Yeah, but I know what he means when he says that. All right, we'll get the best bet on the other side. I know what he means. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back right here, Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you on SportsGrid. We're closing out a Tuesday night. I'm out tomorrow, of course. Not here on the Wednesday. Joe Ranieri will handle business. I'll be back on Thursday. Any NBA picks, and there certainly will be some for tomorrow's action, at the Kevin Walsh. Don't be scared to get in the mix. Any questions, you can always send them my way. Always trying to get involved with the people. Always appreciate everybody out there who reaches out, interacts. And again, follow everything involving SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV, at SportsGrid Radio. Keep up to date with everything that we've got going on here on the network. In-game live is coming up. Dave Sharapan, of course, will be in the fold there, going through all of the live action tonight, including Lakers, Pelicans. The pregame picks there were Brandon Ingram's 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and Anthony Davis over 3.5 steals plus blocks. I know he has 1 block on the board already. Late night game 2 is Kings Warriors. I am playing the over in that game at 222.5. My best bet in that matchup is Klay Thompson, 5.5 rebounds plus assists. This is a volume game. This is betting on postseason minutes. Klay Thompson last year averaged 36 minutes per game in the playoffs. The Warriors played Klay 38 minutes in their second game their second to last game of the season against the Pels, which had playoff implications. And those numbers are important. When Clay plays at least 35 minutes this year, he's gone over 5.5 rebounds and assists 9 of the 10 times. When he plays at least 32 minutes, which feels like a very safe bet, he's gone over this number 20 out of 26 times. So I know 5.5 at minus 146 looks expensive. It should be 6.5. And it should be probably expensive over the 6.5. Klay Thompson over 5.5 rebounds plus assists. Dinger Tuesday. Don't forget Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt, and a little respect action checks in as well for our guy Ronald Acuna Jr. Did take a piece of that Astros money line as well. A lot for us to root in. Best of luck on your bets. I'll see you Thursday.